There's a revolution that's needed in men's personal development. It's got to be more accessible. It needs to be demystified. We can't keep dressing it up like some Lord of the Rings kind of King Arthur thing. We need to keep it simple. We need to make it effective, and we need to build community around it so it's not just a set of ideas. There's too much personal in personal development for a start, especially if you're working with working class men. Community is important to everyone. But you can't have personal development without community and work with working class men, in my opinion. Working class men rely on community for safety. Group dynamic is very important. And for sustenance, there's always a tradition of if I give to you, you give to me, I look after you when you need it, you look after me when I need it. We need that to feel safe because we don't have a bank balance that supports us. When we hit rock bottom, our parents can't bail us out. Our mates will be there with us. And they can't even bail us out, but they can be there with us. You know, that's why you can get, when it goes wrong, you see problems like football hooliganism within the working classes, things like that, because the group defines the individual, because that's where safety is. If you're not in that group, you're not safe. And so, of course, like night follows day, that's the same with personal development. I can't develop without a sense of community because I won't feel safe. So you have to continue to have community in there, and it's sorely overlooked. A lot of personal development, you go up, you pay your money, you get your more information, you learn more about yourself, you get closer to your vision of how you want to be. Whereas like a lot of working class guys, they got a tenner, they'll give you a fiver. We have to have that element within personal development when working with working class men, or it won't stand up because self isn't a safe place for if you're working class. Strength is in numbers if you're working class. And that means development is in numbers if you're working class. I don't think it's necessarily that the space hasn't been open for working class men, the personal development space. And I also don't think it's that working class men have not wanted personal development. I think there's just not been a meeting of those two things yet. There's not an understanding that comes. There's still a luxurious element, if we're honest, about personal development. It's often expensive. And often there's an educational barrier to it. And also, like I say, there hasn't been a community element to it. So it's too much about the individual. It's been a meeting that hasn't happened. The information is there, but it's not been packaged in a way so it's accessible to working class men. It's not been priced in a way so it's acceptable to working men. And also the outcomes of more self, of more vulnerability and authenticity, for example. Those words can be terrifying when you're a working class man. The last thing I want to be in lots of situations is more authentic and more vulnerable, because I've been taught that my authentic self, even my accent, isn't welcome in certain places. So why am I going to roll up there and be like, yeah, this is me, this is who I am? Because I've been consistently told that weren't acceptable to be that weren't professional. So in that arena already, you've got to disguise yourself. So we're constantly told to lock parts of ourselves away. And the personal development that's out there a lot ain't unlocking those right parts. It's saying more me. And as a working class man, I want more us. Lots of personal development happens in nature. And that's okay, right? We need that. But it makes it otherworldly. It makes it this other place. It makes it a place that I went to and got something and did. And now I'm back here. So if you're on an estate, that's your world. I think that's what a lot of people don't get who haven't grown up on council estates or in working class areas. Your postcode, your estate is it. That's your world. Personal development becomes a school trip to France. I went to France, I bought some Death Stars and some bangers, snogged a French girl, come back, but now I'm here, right? It don't mean I'm a Frenchman. And that's the same when we do personal development that's not in our own spaces. The development has to happen within the community because working class people are members of their community. They identify by their community. So the initiation, the transformation has to take place within that community. There's no point taking them elsewhere. I mean, it worked for me. It's worked for men. There's a generation of men who have come through in personal development, and it was a tough place to be. It was a tough place for me to be one of the few working class men in that arena. But now I think through conversations I'm having with those men, we're starting to realize there's a different way that we can do this. Not that it's more attractive, not that it's more relevant to, but simply it happens where you are. I've been met where I am. And that's what we have to get better at, meeting men where they are. That's the importance of working class people getting together within personal development circles, because there's a wound that people don't like talking about. And the wound is such in working class people that we don't think that we can be led by people like us. That's why we see it in politics. You know, we're seeing the same guys from the same schools in power. It's working class people putting them in power because the wound is such they don't believe that someone can be like them and be in charge, because that's what we're told. So when we turn up on personal development programs, it's really, really, really important that there's someone like me there that's in a point of leadership, because then I start to believe this ain't something that isn't for me. This ain't some information that I can't gain. This can actually be a part of my life. If we can do that in here, in personal development, hopefully we'll start to bring that out in politics. And you will see working class CEOs. You will see working class politicians. Working class people might actually build them up rather than kind of shit on them, which is what tends to happen when a working class person puts their head above the parapet. And it's because the self-loathing is such. We're taught to loathe and distrust ourselves. There's a revolution that's needed in men's personal development, all personal development, actually. It's got to be more accessible in terms of finance and in terms of educational barriers. It needs to be demystified. We can't keep dressing it up like some Lord of the Rings kind of King Arthur thing, because that don't work to all men. It works for some, but not for all. We need to keep it simple. We need to make it effective. And we need to build community round it, so it's not just a set of ideas. What? That's all right. That's all right. Right, I think...